Hello viewer, I welcome you to this lesson. We are going to discuss primary 6 work and we are continuing with our workbooks. Today we are going to look at another resource that we have in East Africa. Remember, in this topic we are looking at the resources we have in East Africa, and to remind you, in primary 6 we talk about East Africa. Today we have water bodies as resources. We don't want again to go back and begin defining resources and everything that we finished about it, talking about it. This we find it on page 67 of our workbooks. So if you have the workbook right there with you, kindly go to that page 67 and we shall be good to go. Here we are going to look at this resource, this water body is falling under what we call the drainage system. When we talk of drainage, we simply mean the underground water system, which means we are going to look at the water bodies that we have in East Africa and how do they become resources? How do they become useful to us in East Africa? So we have drainage defined as the underground water system. Here we look at water bodies, and when we talk of the examples of water bodies, that we have mainly in East Africa. In East Africa, we have water bodies like lakes, we have got rivers, we have got swamps in East Africa, we have got streams, we have got other water bodies like we have the Indian Ocean at the coast. Indian Ocean, don't forget that it is at the coast of East Africa. So we are going also to bring it here. So we are going to be looking at this one by one, and we want to begin with lakes. We want to begin with the lakes. I'm so sure we are not beginning to talk about lakes for the first time. Right away from the downer classes, we defined lakes, we looked at lakes, examples of lakes, which lakes are those we have in Uganda, in our district, in East Africa. So a lake is defined as a large mass of water, surrounded. A lake is a large mass of water surrounded by land. That is how simple we are going to define a lake. A large mass of water surrounded by land. We have lakes categorized into seasonal lakes. These are the lakes that have water only during the dry season, and during the wet season, and when the dry season comes, they dry up. That is the map symbol that we use for those lakes. And then we also have those lakes that have water throughout the year. They have water in both seasons, whether dry or wet season. They call them permanent lakes. These ones we have, we shall have something like this. The only difference here is here. Here we have it completely joined. Here we have it dotted. We can as well represent the water inside here. There is no problem. We can as well shade it like this, or we can even just have it without this water shown here. It's also safe. So that is the difference we have. Next, we are going to look at the types of lakes we have in East Africa. Now, in your downer classes, I presume you were looking at using this as the types of the lakes, but here in upper primary, we are going to look at the types of lakes got from the formation. That is, how was this lake formed? Which process led to the formation of this lake? And the one which gives us the type to which that lake belongs. We have one that we call, the first ones we have are the downwarped lakes. Downwarped. We can also call them basin lakes, or sometimes we can also call them depression lakes. We have depression lakes. That is the first type we have. We shall come and talk about those types one by one. And then we have the lakes that we call fault lakes. Fault lakes. Of course, here now we talk about faulting, of which this can also be called the Rift Valley lakes. Rift Valley lakes. We also need to be aware of that. Then we have what we call lava dammed, or we can also call them lava blocked. Lava dammed, or we call them lava blocked lakes. We shall also have what we call the oxbow lakes. We shall also talk about crater lakes. We shall also talk about man-made lakes. Man-made lakes also in existence. And then we shall also be looking at others like the caldera, the glacial lakes. We shall also be talking about them. Let us look at these examples of the lakes that we have mentioned. One, we have talked about downwarped lakes. Downwarped lakes. We gave these also other names. We say we can call them downwarped, we can call them basin lakes, we shall call them depression lakes. So we need to understand, like I said, we look at the formation, which means we shall say lava dammed lake, downwarped lakes are lakes that were formed. Lava dammed, meaning downwarped lakes are lakes that were formed as a result of downwarping. That is the process that led to the formation of these lakes, downwarping, the up and down warping of the land or the earth's surface, leading to the formation of the lakes we call downwarped lakes. Let's look at the examples of these lakes that we have in East Africa. Examples of downwarped lakes. I can even change here and I say basin lakes. I hope you have understood that it means the same. Don't again say the teacher is talking about downwarped lakes there. Again here the teacher is talking about basin lakes. I mean the same. Now, these lakes in Uganda, we have lakes like Victoria, Lake Victoria. We have Lake Kyoga. Lake Kyoga is there. We have Lake Kwanya. Lake Kwanya. You should be able to locate all these lakes as a semi-candidate. Should be able to locate all these lakes on the map of Uganda. Where do we find Lake Kwanya? Where do we find Lake Kyoga? I know some of you are here in Kwanya for your first time. So you need to go and find out where do we locate Kwanya. We have Lake Bizina. Lake Bizina. We We have Lake Opeta. We have Lake Wamala. Lake Wamala also there in Uganda. So these are the lakes, the down-warped basin lakes, or we can call them depression lakes that we have. And then we have also Lake Ngami in Botswana, but this one is in Botswana, we can't go to that. Mainly we remain in East Africa. And then we have Lake Amboseli. This is in Kenya. Lake Amboseli. We shall be able to say that this is the only lake in Kenya which is not in the Rift Valley. Lake Amboseli. We need also to be having that. We have the note in our workbook which tells us that out of these lakes, it is Lake Victoria which has got which is the largest. It's the largest water, downward lake that we have in East Africa. Let us go and talk about what is seen in these lakes. We have the characteristics of down-warped lakes, characteristics of depression lakes. Which things are seen in these lakes? Number one, we shall be able to note that these lakes have fresh water. When we taste the water in them, the water is fresh. It's not salty like we have with other lakes. Then the second one says these lakes have irregular shapes. They have irregular shape, meaning they do not have definite shapes. When we look at lakes like Choga, you will find a lake having there is no shape. When you look at Lake Victoria, so you will find that these lakes do not have shape. That's what we mean by that. They do not have regular shapes. Therefore, they have irregular shapes. That is another characteristic. Then, these lakes have got both the inlets and the outlets. They have inlets and outlets, meaning the inlets which bring the water to them, and then they also have the outlets that are taking water away from them. And then lastly, not the least, we can say these lakes are shallow. They are shallow. But when we say they are shallow, some children do not understand it here. They think you can even walk on that water, you will not sink. No. When we talk of these lakes being shallow, we mean that when we compare them with the other lakes, like when we compare them with the Rift Valley lakes, you will find that the other ones are deep. They are deeper than these. So for that case, we say these ones are shallow. That's why I remember when you were in primary 5, you must have learned about Lake Choga being the shallowest lake in Uganda, and you must have given the reasons why it's shallow. Now, when we say Lake Choga is the shallowest, but of course Choga is a basin lake. The other lakes, or even these other ones, are shallow, but does not mean that we cannot sink in them. We shall die, we shall drown, we shall die in them. So when we compare them with others, the other ones are deeper than them. Then we shall say, lastly, that these lakes are always wide. They are wide. You find a lake stretches very wide in an area. So those are the characteristics of these lakes. On page 68 gives us the examples of these lakes one by one. and we are talking about them in depth, that is in detail. We have Lake Victoria, which we are saying is the largest freshwater lake we have in East Africa, and it's shared by the 3 East African countries, that is Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And for that, it is called the interterritorial lake, meaning it promotes trade in the 3 East African countries. It can also be, it's also used for fishing, meaning it's where people can carry out fishing from, and that is the main economic activity done by people who live near that lake, Victoria, fishing. Due to the presence of fish, and we say it is the tilapia fish, which is commonly caught on that lake. And then we also have a sentence saying that this is the very source of River Nile. Remember when you were in primary 5 looking at the explorers, when we were talking about John's Peak, we say John's Peak discovered a source of River Nile that is from, that's in Jinja, where the river begins flowing from. That part of Lake Victoria in Jinja, where we say that he named it Ripon. That is after Lord Ripon, the president of the Royal Geographical Society. That is what we learned about in primary 5. We also have we have a map which gives us the inland ports on that lake. Inland ports. Now, when we talk of inland ports on Lake Victoria, we need to have understood the meaning of a port, which I believe we learned in primary 5. If you forgot, I am going to remind you. A port, remember my port is having R, not the other one for storing water. We said a port is that area where ships load and offload goods from. And we said we have got ports divided into 2. We have those ports which are at the coast. We call them seaports. Then we have the ports which are found in water bodies which are inside the countries. That is, those are the ones we call inland ports. So when we talk of the inland ports on Lake Victoria, we have those in, of course, like I said, Lake Victoria is covered or is shared by the 3 East African countries. You will find that if we have the map of Uganda here, you will find that this side is now Kenya, this is Uganda, this is Kenya, and this is Tanzania. So we are going to have our lake here. This is the lake that we call Victoria. So we are having the lake, and we are going to show the inland ports that are found on this lake. Now, we have these ports listed according to countries. Let's begin with those that are in Uganda. Now, in Uganda, we are having ports like Port Jinja. That is where the source is. We shall have Port Jinja here. Port Jinja. Okay. We have Port Luzira. This is what we call Port Bell. And then we have Port Bukakata. Port Bukakata. We have Port Bukakata around here. And then we have Port Entebbe. And when we go to, we also have Port Kalangala. When we go to the other side of Kenya, we have Port Kisumu. Port Kisumu here. And then we have Port Asembo also this way. Coming to Tanzania, we have Port Mwanza here. We have Port Bukoba. And we have Port Musoma. Port Musoma, Port Mwanza, and then we have Bukoma here. That is about Tanzania. We have Musoma, Mwanza, and we have Port Bukoba. We have Lake Choga, that we are saying it is the shallowest lake we have in Uganda. I had talked about this already. And why is it shallow? We say it is shallow because of silting, due to the high rate of silting, that is deposition of materials into the lake. It's what made it to be shallow. And for that reason, it has a lot of vegetation growing on it. And this is why we say in primary 5 that it is the shallowest lake we have. It's the swampiest lake we have in Uganda. It was first seen by Chain Long, that is the foreigner who saw it. We have also inland ports on that lake. We have Kagwara Port, inland port, Namasare Port, and then we have Lwampanga Port. We have Lake Amboseli on our page 69, which is telling us that this is found in the southern part of Kenya, and we have said it's the only lake in Kenya which is not in the Rift Valley line. Next, we are going to look at the Rift Valley lakes. Rift Valley lakes. So, Rift Valley lakes. So we have Rift Valley lakes, that is page 70. We shall simply say Rift Valley lakes. Remember, we also call them fault lakes, which means these are lakes which were formed as a result of faulting. And when we have the examples of such lakes in Uganda, that is where we have lakes like Lake Albert, we have Lake George, Lake Edward, we continue to Lake Kivu, that is now in Rwanda. We have Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania. We have Lake Malawi, and then we shall also be having Lake Turkana. Lake Turkana, a Rift Valley lake in Kenya. So those are the examples of the Rift Valley lakes that we have in East Africa. Remember, these Rift Valley lakes were formed as a result of faulting. Let us look at the characteristics of Rift Valley lakes. The first characteristic we are going to have is these lakes have got salty water. They have salty water. And if we are asked a reason, we must be able to tell why do Rift Valley lakes have salty water. One, these lakes lie on, or they sit on salty basements, or we can simply say they have salty rocks underground. And then most of them don't have the outlets, and that is why they are having that salty water. And then we also need to know that these lakes are long. They are long. We should be able to tell the difference. With the other ones, we say they are large. These ones are long. I pray that you get the difference. And then also, these ones are narrow. These lakes are narrow. I want you to look at lakes like Lake Turkana. Look at lakes like Tanganyika. Long. In fact, that is the longest lake we have in East Africa, Turkana. And then even other lakes like Albert, you find these lakes are narrow. Then also, these lakes were formed as a result of faulting, and then they have shapes. They have shapes. They are not like the other one. At least when you look at a lake that is Lake Turkana, you will find that at least some sort of oval shape, or at least there is it's not like the other one, which was like Victoria, which was irregular. So that is what we mean by them having shapes. We are going to look at Lake Tanganyika. We are saying this one is bordered it's shared between Tanzania and then the Democratic Republic of Congo, and then also we have Zambia and Burundi also sharing parts of it. We have other lakes like Turkana. We have it on page 74, or 71, whereby we say it was named Lake Rudolph. That's by Count Telek. We shall be looking at those other explorers in East Africa. Then I want us to go to page 72, where we are going to look at the formation of Oxbow Lakes. Oxbow Lakes. Like I say, we look at how these lakes were formed. That's where we get the name from, or the title. So these lakes were formed as a result of a river meandering. Lakes, Oxbow Lakes, were formed as a result of river meandering. A river meandering meaning a river begins to twist, which means if a river has been flowing in an area, for example, let me have a diagram. This is a river and it has been flowing. Therefore, we are going to look at this river beginning to meander. To meander means this river flows and begins to twist. So we are going to have this river meandering. So we are having a river meandering. This is stage 2. The river is changing its flow. It's now twisting. And when a river twists like this, there is what we call a deposition of the sand and other materials into these edges and the meanders. So we are going to have deposition beginning here. This is sand deposition, for example. And what happens is, in the third stage, we are going to have this complete block or blockage because of the sand. The sand blocks the flow of a river, and this river will be forced to take another direction, and what is cut will be another lake which will be formed. So we are having a river which was coming and it was meandering. We are having it like this. The river was meandering, and we say because of the position, this river was blocked. Therefore, we are going to have this river here was blocked completely, and the river changed its flow and it took this direction now. And also here we shall have another blockage here. So we are having the river continuing like this. Therefore, we have now a lake formed from here. This is now a lake formed, and the river continues to flow like this. So this is the lake that we call the Oxbow Lake. That is the formation of the Oxbow Lakes. We have lava dammed lakes. These are the lakes that were formed due to eruption as lava was flowing and blocked, forming a lake. Examples of those lakes we have in Uganda, we have Lake Bunyonyi. Remember Lake Bunyonyi, we understood it even in primary 5. We said this is the deepest lake that we have in Uganda. And then we have Lake Mutanda, and we have Lake Kivu. Sorry, Kivu should have come as Lava Dam Lake. Then we have glacial lakes, and then from that we shall be having a topical exercise. I want us to go to the problems that are faced by the people who live near lakes on page 77. This one comes after the importance. The importance, these ones are what you need to understand is that in every lake, or when we talk about water bodies, there are two simple answers that you should not forget. That is lakes providing water, providing fish. Those answers are very simple. You cannot forget about that. And then they help in formation of rain. They help in irrigation. They provide water for irrigation. And then also they can attract tourists who can bring income to a country. And then also some lakes, lakes also are sources of, they aid or promote water transport. That is people moving from one area to another. Like when we look at Lake Victoria, we said we have people moving from one inland port to another. When we go to the problems facing people who live around or near lakes, we have problems like disease vectors, which can be in these areas. Those areas tend to become breeding places for these disease vectors like mosquitoes that can spread the diseases to us. And then we also have these people suffering from coldness. Sometimes find that the temperatures, they are too cold, mostly during morning hours and evening hours. They tend to be very cold. And then also we have attacks from those aquatic animals like the crocodiles, the snakes. Such animals can harm them. And also floods. Sometimes when too much rain comes, you find the water level increases and the water goes the nearby communities. That is what we call flooding, causing floods. It becomes a problem to those people. And also there is drowning. Some people can also drown in these water bodies. So it becomes another problem. And then we have problems that lakes face. I believe you get the difference between problems that people face and now problems that the lakes themselves face. Here is where we talk about problems like drainage of these water bodies, that is removing or drawing water from the lake. And then we have pollution, that is addition of waste materials into a lake. It spoils a lake. And then we also have another problem of too much sunshine, that's prolonged sunshine, which brings what we call drought. The water body ends up drying in that area. And then we have deposition of materials. This can be done by rain. That is what we call silting. Among other problems, those are the ones that we shall be looking at. The economic activities done in and around the lakes, mainly we have fishing, and we have water transport, and then we have tourism. Trade is always there. People go on a tour. There is also farming on the shores of the lakes. Remember, those areas receive a lot of rainfall. Therefore, they have fertile soil that can support farming. And also people can rear the animals from there. So that is what we can share about lakes as an example of water bodies that fall under what we call drainage features. I promise when we meet next time, we shall be looking at rivers as water bodies. Remember, we are still looking at these as resources. I wish you the best. Thank you for listening to me. May God be with you.